Welcome to this morning's live session. I hope you had a really nice long weekend and feel nice and rested and relaxed and not feel like you need another one. But we have another long weekend coming up. So if you feel like that, then it's all good. Good morning, Leslie, and good morning, Lays Lou Fit. How are you? Good morning, everyone on Insta. All right, this morning's session, I'm going to give you my top tips for fueling on the bike, and just it's to help you stop bonking on the bike, really. Good morning, Dan Barrett. Because what I see with a lot of triathletes is they really suck at fueling on the bike. Whether you go to the full extreme, hey Kimmy James, full extreme where you are like bonking or hitting the wall, that's kind of, end of the spectrum. Or, you just can't peel yourself off the couch after long sessions. Like you go and do a long ride and you survive it. You could have done a better job of fueling it and maybe pushed a bit harder. I'm just going to move my chair. But, you're stuck on the couch for the rest of the day. You feel like you need a nap. You walk around in a bit of a haze afterwards. You feel a bit like fuzzy is probably a good term to describe it, where you just have no energy and you're slogging your guts through the chores that you have to do for the rest of the day, and maybe not being the best version of yourself for your family if that's you and you've got family commitments. For a lot of people, feeling like that, it runs the risk of getting divorced. One of my clients came to see me many years ago, Sarah, because her husband's not a triathlete, doesn't really kind of understand the whole triathlon thing. Actually, you guys on Insta probably cannot hear me. I just realized that my headphones are not plugged in. Hi, is that better? That should be better. Okay, yeah, so Sarah came to see me to literally not get divorced. She was stuck on the couch all day after her long weekend training sessions and was really struggling to step up to hang out with her daughters in the afternoon, and her husband was like, this is shit. So one of her key indicators of success with our relationship was that she could then function for the rest of the day after her long rides. And I think that's really important because for a lot of us, we do have other commitments. Like we're not, even though we have this performance mindset and we want to train like a professional athlete, we do have other lives outside of triathlon, whereas a professional athlete doesn't. That's their job. The rest of us mere mortals who are just doing it for fun and to participate, but still have a really high performance mindset, do have to, hold down a job, family commitments, keep your house in order and all those sorts of things. So if you're missing that time and quality time with your family after long sessions because you're feeling like that on long rides, then you need to do something differently with your nutrition to get the most out of those sessions. Another failure with people with underfueling or not fueling them properly is that if we're trying to drop body fat, we're trying to lean up, then often we feel like we shouldn't eat or shouldn't fuel, or we'll just don't feel like we need it because we don't have the appetite. And, if that is the case, if you're underfueling and not having enough during your sessions because you want to drop fat and you think that's the path to lose fat, then that's not necessarily the answer, because that hunger monster is going to wreak havoc later on, whether it's that afternoon or it's the next day, which is typically rest day after you've done a really long ride. That's when you just are absolutely starving. You kind of can't fill a hole. You're eating, but it's not satisfying you necessarily. And that's because you've done a really poor job of your fueling through that long session. So they are some of the biggest sort of mistakes or failures I see triathletes make, is that they're underfueling. They're either bonking, which is, worst case scenario where you can't peel yourself off the bitumen, or you're stuck on the couch for the rest of the afternoon after your long training sessions and wasting that time, watching Netflix. If you've got no family commitments, then, oh man, I'm very jealous. But if you've got things that you're meant to be doing after your long sessions, then you might need to do something else about it so that you're not wasting the afternoon on the couch and missing that quality time with family or friends. And then also, if you are trying to drive body fat loss, then underfueling is not necessarily the answer to get you to those body composition goals. Hey Kylie, hey Joy Through Fitness, how you guys going on the gram? All right, because I guess with with fueling on the bike, sometimes our struggle or our fear is that if we're in a bunchy and maybe we're not the same level as the people in our group, then we might really struggle to find time to get our hands off the handlebars to do some fueling. Like if you're hanging on for dear life in the back, there may be less opportunity for you to fuel, and you might be worried that if you do, you'll get dropped. And you're also, I guess, another fear or stress with riding is that you will get dropped, or you're not pulling your turn on the front in a group because you don't think you'll survive that. Riding with people that are better than you is a good thing for your fitness, because you will become a better cyclist if you can do that. But I fully understand how stressful and how stressful that is. I used to ride with the boys every Friday morning, and they'd give me a head start up Cootha. And I spent that whole ride up that hill just like stressed and worrying that they were going to catch me, because then they'd fly past me and I'd be dropped. So I probably didn't do a good job of fueling on those rides, like in hindsight, because I was so worried that I didn't have time to do that because they were going to catch me. So I want you to have confidence in your fueling on the bike and your plan with that, so that you can push through the back end of long sessions. That's one key spot where you will get fitter and faster if you can do that. And sometimes more is better, to have that energy to push through the back end of long sessions and feel energy right throughout your ride. That's how I want you to feel when you're doing long rides. And if you don't feel like that right now, then you need to do something about your nutrition, because it's obviously not dialed in for what you need. The other thing that I want you to feel is that you could go forever. You could do a 5-hour ride and feel like you could keep going, and then you're useful off the back of that as well. You're not stuck on the couch for the rest of the day. I also want you to be the person that is in your group that everyone's like, man, what are you on? Like, what secret sauce are you taking that you look this good, feel this good, are still smiling? Hey, registered foodie, I haven't seen you for ages. How you going? I want you to feel like that person, that people looking at you and just being like, what is the secret sauce that you are on? So when it comes to the bike, in triathlon specifically, I love to call the bike the rolling buffet. And that is because it's your best opportunity to get food and fuel on board. You've got the ability to carry everything on your bike. You don't have to carry it on your person like you do when you're running. You've got your water bottles all there ready to go. You might, if you're just riding, not racing, you've got pockets in the back of your jersey. You might have a bento box where you can have a little picnic stashed, and you can tape lots of things to your bike as well, like onto your top tube or down the sides. Like, have you ever seen any bike packing bikes? They've got stuff stashed everywhere. So there's lots of little add-ons to your bike or equipment to be able to store food and fuel on your bike. And the newer bikes now are coming out with a whole heap of cool new technology to store fluid in your frame, rather than having to have it on bottles that are external, and lots of like little rubber seal bento boxes and lots of places to actually store stuff on the bike frame. So that's pretty cool. So I call it the rolling buffet because it can literally be a rolling buffet. It is our opportunity to eat and drink. Our stomach is also quite still when we're riding too, right? It's flat, it's still. Like, yes, your heart rate goes up with cycling, particularly if you're going uphill or you're doing efforts. But it's way easier to consume food and to drink fluids on the bike compared to running. Running, we are so much more challenged with consuming things and then also digesting things. So think about running. You have to carry everything on you, and there's great things available to carry stuff on you. You can get a Camelback, you can get those fuel vests with like soft flasks that sit on your chest here. You can get little bum bag sort of things to carry stuff around your waist. You could stuff stuff in pockets, down your bra, wherever you want it. But you do have to carry it on your person, and unless you've got fluids on you that are in a bottle, you might be relying on bubblers for fueling, for hydrating. And then we don't have any idea how much hydration you're actually getting in when you're using something like a bubbler. That's okay. It's better than not drinking. But it's hard when we're trying to practice race nutrition and keep on top of our sweat needs to know how much you're getting in your mouth when you're using a bubbler. The other thing with running is that your tummy is just jiggling up and down. Like it's not still and stable like it is on the bike. Your tummy is literally doing these ones, and that makes it much harder to digest things. It can be also more difficult to breathe and eat when we are running, compared to riding. Let me know if you've experienced that or if that sounds like you. And then the other thing with, I guess, eating and exercising, it's kind of counterintuitive. We're not designed to run away from a lion and, digest a steak. We have two different types of nervous systems, our parasympathetic and our sympathetic nervous system. And when we are exercising, our sympathetic nervous system is heightened. So that's our run away from the lion response. So, hey, running guy, Ryan, how you going? So when that sympathetic nervous system is elevated, all of our rest and digest parasympathetic nervous system gets down regulated. So we're not trying to digest things when we're trying to run away from a lion. All that kind of switches off. There are some strategies that you can implement to help that process and make it easier. I'm not going to go through that today though, but that's something I'll teach you inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy, how to actually eat while exercising to maximize absorption. But the blood is also not in your stomach when you're exercising. It is in your working muscles. It's in your diaphragm to help you breathe. It's in, your heart, your lungs, all of that sort of stuff to help you exercise. The blood flow is diverted away from your gut. So there's a few ways that we can help digestion, but when it comes to cycling and running, riding is definitely your best opportunity to get fuel on board, because we have a stable tummy. Our heart rate may be similar, like a bit more stable compared to running where it spikes, depending on what your strength is, I guess. But coming full circle, the bike is the rolling buffet for that reason, because in a triathlon, in a race, it is our opportunity to get a lot of food and fluid on board. So in terms of how much you need, I guess it's very individual, and it depends on what sort of training session you're doing, and then what sort of length race you're doing as well. So our fueling strategy depends on, I guess, 4 factors. We've got our duration, the intensity, so how hard we're going, the season that you're in as well. So whether you're in like an on season where we're trying to really perfect your race nutrition strategies and build your gut tolerance heading into a key race, or are you in the off season where our fueling strategy doesn't need to be as aggressive because we're not trying to really dial our race in. We are not needing to necessarily do gut training in our off season, and we could be using our off season as an opportunity to do some fat burning too. So your fueling strategy does need to change right throughout the year, depending on where you are in your season. Now, if you don't have an off season, if you're like, what is this elusive off season you talk about, Taryn? Then chances are you don't have a periodized training program, and that might be something you want to chat to your coach about to make sure that you're not just going hard all the time. Because as a triathlete, we get better, we get fitter and faster if we can rest. But triathletes are not so good at actually resting. The other thing that our fueling depends on is our goals. Like, are we a 9-hour Ironman type athlete and we're trying to win, versus are we going to do, I don't know, like a 13-hour Ironman or a 14-hour, or we're just trying to get to the finish line in one piece? My fueling for those two different people would look completely different. So there's a lot of factors when it comes to fueling. Okay, those were the 4 things, quick summary. So the duration of the exercise, like how long are you going for, will depend on how your fueling will be more aggressive or different for something that is a longer duration versus a shorter duration. Also the intensity. So are you doing a really hard, intense ride? Your fueling for that needs to look different to something that is more aerobic. And if you don't know what aerobic and anaerobic is, let me know and I can explain it. Hey, Britt Marsh. But that's something I'll teach you inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy as well, is how to actually understand what type of session you're doing to layer in your fueling strategy as part of that, because that's really key. So duration, intensity, the season, so whether you're in your off season or on season, and if you don't have an off season, you might maybe need to look at getting one. And also your goals, your individual goals as an athlete. Are you trying to win? Are you just happy to get to the finishing line? Do you have some body fat you want to lose, or are you really struggling to hold weight on? Like, what are your overall goals? We need to make sure that our fueling strategy layers in with those as well. So I hope that's helped with a few things to get you to start to think about what you're doing on your long rides. When it comes to what to have, that's something I'll teach you inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy, because there's definitely easier ways to fuel and harder ways to fuel. If you saw my little story this morning, you might know that hot cross buns might be an option that you can think about in terms of fueling, because they are a nice little tidy package of carbohydrate too. You don't have to have gels and sports drink all the time. I've definitely seen a movement away from commercial sports products over the years, and people looking for more real food options on the bike now. Hello, Beanshe. Oh, Beanie, what a cool name. Yeah, so you don't have to have gels. Like, if you have had everyone around you telling you need to have gels, I'm here to say you don't need to have gels. If you don't like them, they don't agree with you, don't use them. There are plenty of other things that you can use for fueling that don't require you to have gels. You could make your own sports drink at home if you want to. Like, I've got a recipe in the database for homemade sports drink. You don't have to use commercial products if you don't want to. One of the athletes inside the Triathlon Nutrition Academy, actually a couple of them, have my homemade sports drink recipe and use that, because sports drink is really just a bit of sodium and some carbohydrates. We just need to be crafty around the type of carbohydrates that are in there, depending on how long you're going for. But again, topic of conversation for another day. That's something we tackle in phase 3 of our program, where we start to talk about multiple transportable carbohydrates. So some ideas for fueling on the bike, like if you don't want sports drink and if you don't want gels, you could do things like muesli bars. You could make your own muesli bars. You could use hot cross buns, bananas, or any dried fruit if you tolerate dried fruit. What else? Loads of things. How's my brain? My second coffee hasn't kicked in. You could make your own little energy balls. In terms of savory options, because a lot of sports products are sweet, I like to put savory in on the bike, and you can do that with things like Vegemite sandwiches and a few other top secret recipes that I've got that are actually in the little Fuel Your Adventure book. So if you're looking for more real food options on the bike, then have a look at something like this. This is available on the website. I can link it later, but it's got a whole bunch of like energy ball recipes that you can make and take with you. They're all little equivalent to either half a gel or a gel in terms of carbohydrate. You could make my bike bars recipe. This one's actually free on the website. If you go to dietitianimprove.com/recipes, you'll see the free recipes there. The bike bars is in there. There's some flapjacks, and then there's some savory options in here. And the last, like at the back, we've got some homemade sports drink options too. So you don't have to have commercial sports products on the bike if you don't want to, or if you're in your off season, that might be a good opportunity to use some more real foods as well. I would, if you want help with like different types of gels and what, like what's in a gel and how to pick the right gel, then I did do a podcast episode on everything you need to know about sports gels if you want to go and have a look at that. So you want to have a look for the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast. I'm not sure what episode number it is, but if you search for sports gels or Triathlon Nutrition gels or something like that, it should come up in your podcast feed. But that would be a good place to start if you want to understand like what is a gel, what to look for in terms of what carbohydrates in it, how much carbohydrates in it. And then there's some tips in there also about how to consume them, because you don't have to have them all in one go as well. Hey, Jenna Truman. All right, so any questions on fueling on the bike, please let me know. Talking about fueling and exercise is probably one of my favorite topics, and I could talk all day, but I'm not going to waste your time on this beautiful Tuesday morning. If you do have any questions about fueling on the bike, please send me a message or send me a DM, and I'm happy to help you through it. And if fueling on the bike is something that you suck at, you're stuck on the couch for the rest of the day after long rides, you bonk or hit the wall at the end of that session and really struggle to get through long sessions and you're just useless afterwards, then chances are your nutrition is not right for you. You're probably significantly under fueling, but then trying to figure out that sweet spot for you where fueling is good is also kind of a bit of a challenge, because there's targets and guidelines on the internet which people seem to follow. And that doesn't make any sense to me, because they're not right for you. You need to specifically understand for you how much you need, depending on the duration, the intensity, what season we're in or you're in, and your goals as well. And your fueling should evolve over the season and over the time that you've been a triathlete for as well. Like, your fueling when you very first start will look totally different to your fueling strategy once you've been doing the sport for a couple of years. And the same again is if you're doing really long distance races, your fueling will look different to our short course events too. So you need to have an understanding of how that evolves and changes over time, rather than doing the same thing all the time. So if any of that sounds like you, then the doors to the Triathlon Nutrition Academy are open at the moment. They're open until Sunday night at 6 p.m. And one of the first things we tackle in phase 1 is getting you to understand what your fueling needs are for long rides. We spend a fair bit of time over the first 4 weeks building your day-to-day nutrition and your meal plan. And after that, we dive straight into what are you doing on the bike and what are you doing on the run? Because it is a very common mistake I see triathletes make is they're not fueling properly for those long sessions. They're bonking, they're feeling wrecked and tired all the time. And if you're feeling like that and you're dragging your ass through sessions, then you're probably not getting the most out of them. Like, if you think you you spend 2, 3, 4 hours on the bike on your weekend, if you're not fueling that properly, then you're kind of almost doing junk training. Like, you could be performing better if your fueling strategy aligns with your training. And I call that sweet spot there where training intersects with nutrition, the supercharged zone, because that's where you're going to get the best bang for your buck out of training. And it's so important. When you have that dialed in, you're going to feel amazing. You're going to feel like the supercharged triathlete. You're going to have energy through those long sessions, be functional for the rest of the day, not stuck on the couch watching Netflix, and actually starting to get better performance out of your sessions too. One of the guys in the academy sent me a message during the week saying that he'd just done like a 3 or 4 hour ride, and for the first time, he was the only one still standing at the end of it. He sent me a photo of him still standing and everyone else sprawled out on the ground. And he's never experienced that before, because he was significantly under fueling to try and drop body fat. And now he understands how to fuel properly for him, so that he's pushing hard through those sessions, and he's actually lost a couple of kilos without even trying. So that's pretty cool. Hello, Michael. Sorry, I can't read that. It's so far away. All right, so if you want to understand your fueling strategy for the bike, then come and join us inside the academy. You need to go to dietitianapproved.com/academy to have a look at the page. Doors are open right now until Sunday night. And if you want to join me live anymore this week, I'm going live every morning at 9 a.m. just to give you lots of tips and tricks when it comes to triathlon nutrition, because it's a totally different beast to training for one sport. So tomorrow's session is our webinar, and that's at 9 a.m. So if you're not registered for the webinar yet, head to dietitianapproved.com/webinar. In that session, it's free. Head to that site now and register. It'll go for an hour, and hey, if you can't make it live, I'll send you out the recording later on that day anyway, so you can catch yourself up. But I'm going to talk you through the number one rule for nutrition that you need to follow as a triathlete. So if you do nothing else but this one thing, you will start to feel like a supercharged triathlete. And I think that's really important. So go to www.dietitianapproved.com/webinar to get your name on that list. It's on at 9 a.m. tomorrow. All right, and then the next topics that we've got coming up on Thursday at 9 a.m., I'm going to talk about why your recovery nutrition sucks. And then on Friday morning at 9 a.m., I'm going to give you my top tips for how to lean up but still fuel training, which is a real challenge for a lot of triathletes because you try and scale back and eat less and, maybe cut out carbs a little bit to try and drop body fat. And then that affects your overall energy levels and you're falling into a heat come Friday. So I'm going to give you my top tips for how to do that on Friday morning at 9 a.m. That is going to be an awesome session. So if you can't make any of them, try and do just that one if you can. And then Saturday morning at 9 a.m., I'm going to share my screen with you over on Facebook. And I'm going to take you behind the scenes of what the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program looks like when you're actually logged in. Not many people kind of show you the back end of what you actually get when you register, but I'm going to share my screen with you, show you exactly what it looks like, what you get, and the layout. There's no secrets here. And then on 9 a.m. on Sunday is my last live. So that's the last opportunity to catch me. Ask me any questions about triathlon nutrition. You can pick my advanced sports dietitian brain with anything that you want to know. And I'll talk you through the academy program and any last minute questions too, because doors close at 6 p.m. on Sunday night. So this coming Sunday. They are not opening again until August. And then that is it for 2022. We're in 2022, right? Yeah. Don't even know what day it is at the moment, but I think we're in 2022. So like if you're sitting there on the fence and you're thinking, man, I suck at my nutrition, but I'm not really sure, then send me a DM. We can talk about like what it is you're actually looking for and what you need. And I can help answer your questions and even direct you as to the best place to find the answer. All right, I might jump off now, but any questions, send them through. I will be online all day today. I've got phone consults soon as well, but I can do all the things all at once. All right, any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. at my free webinar. And if you're not registered yet, go to dietitianapproved.com/webinar. Otherwise, I'll see you 9 a.m. live on Thursday morning. All right, have a great day, guys. Bye.